Good evening. The Southern Rail service will come to a complete standstill tomorrow with no trains in operation. More than 500,000 passengers will be affected by the latest strike by drivers. This afternoon, Southern Rail lost its bid to stop the action at the Court of Appeal. Andy Dickinson has the very latest.
After almost a year of misery for commuters, it's perhaps no surprise it now looks set to end on another low. Southern Rail's last-ditch attempt to stop strikes through to January was this afternoon thrown out of court.
Well, the advice for tomorrow, when there is an ASLEF driver strike, is to avoid travelling because we will not be able to run any services at all on our southern network. So that's the advice for tomorrow.
From midnight tonight, members of the ASLEF union will join those of the RMT on the picket line in this bitter dispute over driver-only trains. The drivers themselves adding their voices to guards, claiming such a system isn't safe enough, especially on a network that's already so overcrowded.
There's been several studies, including one by the RSSB, that says that only 90% of cases will a driver spot a safety-related incident. We're also being told that we can't rely upon the technology which underpins what we're doing. And we are having high-level talks behind the scenes with the industry to see what we can do about that. So we're not totally Luddite and we're not totally frustrating the process. We're seeking genuine ways forward and we're doing it in the interest of the travelling public.
Amid accusations that Southern Rail cancelled trains over the weekend unnecessarily, Theresa May's official spokeswoman told a briefing this morning that the Prime Minister is extremely concerned about the strikes, yet the government still shows little appetite to directly intervene.
It's a completely unnecessary strike. It's messing up passengers' lives. We've invited them for more talks to try and resolve this. Yesterday, over the weekend, they simply didn't turn up.
Meanwhile, for commuters caught in the middle, Southern Rail's services will be cancelled tomorrow, Wednesday and Friday, during next week and into the new year, unless a resolution can be found. Andy Dickinson, ITV News.
Well, our transport correspondent Mike Pearce is at Brighton Station with more reaction.
Well, the drivers, around 1,000 of them, expected to walk out at midnight, just over an hour's time. Now, the advice from Southern is do not attempt to travel tomorrow. They're expecting there will be no services at all on Southern trains. Some Southern drivers also operate Gatwick Express trains, so they will be badly affected as well. Around half the trains will be running. That's a half-hourly service between Victoria and Gatwick, and only operating between around 5 in the morning and 10 at night. The only services that will be operating on the Victoria line from Sussex will be here on the Brighton line, and that's some Thameslink services, and there are just 2 or 3 of those an hour, and they can take anything from an hour and a half to almost 2 hours. The advice is that those trains are expected to be extremely busy. It's going to be a very difficult day for passengers.
I'm coming from Seaford, so there are no trains. So I'm getting up at 3:30 in the morning to get to London by 7. And this is now I'm going to have to spend 3 nights up there.
Terrible. I simply can't understand how they're still allowed to run the trains.
Every single day for the past about over a year, every single day, late every day.
So for many people, of course, it's working from home, trying to get to London if they can. There will be extra coaches, but they are full, so don't try that. But in terms of the dispute now, what happens? Well, of course, the union has now won its court case today, its appeal. So in terms of the dispute, Southern is saying it wants more talks now, possibly at ACAS. But as things stand at the moment, there will be a very limited service tomorrow, Wednesday and Friday.
Mike Pearce there, and any updates on that story will be on our website. Just head to itv.com/Meridian. In other news tonight, a 21-year-old man will go on trial next year, charged with murdering a toddler in Dorset. 2-year-old Harry House was found with fatal injuries at the property on Main Street in Broadmain. Joseph Eek from Weymouth pleaded not guilty. More than 50 firefighters tackled a blaze at a thatched property near Romsey. It broke out this afternoon at a farm in Lower Street. No one was injured. The families of 92 elderly patients who died at Gosport War Memorial Hospital have been told they'll have to wait another 2 years to hear what happened to their loved ones. Rachel Hepworth has the story.
We've been fighting now 17 years. It's completely taken over our lives.
It's been a relentless battle for Bridget Reeves, seen here with her mother Anne, since the death of her grandmother in 1999. Elsie Devine had been admitted to the hospital for rehabilitation. A month later, she was dead, a coroner later ruling that prescribed drugs had contributed. For nearly 2 decades, they've called for criminal proceedings, their files of paperwork testament to the legal process. And news that the independent investigation has been pushed back by several months has brought fresh heartache.
We feel it's reprehensible. In 2014 we went to Norman Lamb's office and we asked for a public inquiry. We were told the independent panel was the best way forward because it would be quick and it would cost less money. And now we're here 4 years, we're already at 8 million, so we really feel, we're not in the situation that we should be.
The panel was set up 2 years ago, headed by the former Bishop of Liverpool, James Jones, who led the Hillsborough inquiry. They started looking at the 92 suspicious deaths investigated by police 15 years ago, for which no prosecutions were ever brought. But last month, the panel revealed another 30 families have come forward. The concern from Bridget is that new cases dating back 30 years will delay and dilute justice for those who've campaigned from the start.
We don't want to be pulled up into something that's just going to come out with everything's going to be okay now, these are new procedures, these are new, patient safety laws. In our case, we believe that my grandmother's death is criminal activity and as such she deserves justice under her right to life and for us, our right to know.
And time is of the essence. Some campaigners have died in the 20 years it's so far taken to get answers. For its part, the panel says it has a duty to investigate all concerns openly and honestly. They're expecting to complete the review by spring 2018. Rachel Hepworth, ITV News.
And finally tonight, he always dreamed of flying a Spitfire, so he built one of his very own. Alan James made the craft in his back garden. It took him 3 years and cost him £18,000. Richard Jones has his story.
Even as a boy, Alan James was an enthusiast for anything that involved flying. He built and flew his own model planes. As an adult, he went on to gain his pilot's licence.
My wife would describe it as an obsession. Yes, I like to think it was a hobby or a pastime. But since I was about 10 years of age, I've been interested in flying machines, aeroplanes. It had to be a Spitfire, really. If it was going to be aerobatic, great. I like the idea of a Spitfire because I've always wanted to fly one and couldn't afford one, of course.
Alan used wood to build the plane and scoured the world for the parts he needed. It's an Isaac Spitfire, which is smaller than the original and designed to be home-built. It first flew last year. The self-building of aeroplanes is carefully monitored and regulated. But surely he must have felt slightly nervous on that maiden flight?
Yeah, a little apprehensive maybe. Probably more excited than too nervous. After all, I felt that I'd built the aeroplane really well, really correctly. As part of its testing, we had it flown by Bob Cole, who's an ex-RAF test pilot and a Spitfire display pilot. And he declared that in fact it flew very nicely, not too dissimilar to the real thing. I'm very happy with that.
The only downside to Alan's plane is that it only has one seat, so he can't fly with passengers. He admits it's a selfish aircraft, but to make amends, he's pledged to help others build their own Isaac Spitfire. Richard Jones, ITV News.
Incredible. Now, what does the weather have in store over the next few days? All the details tonight. Here's Simon Parker.
From sleet to the slopes, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Good evening, and yes, it's another hot water bottle free night tonight with temperatures still above average and very mild for the time of year, but a fair bit of gloom around today, and more of that as we head into tomorrow with some outbreaks of rain to look forward to first thing. It'll then become mostly dry into the afternoon, few glimpses of brightness too, but temperatures will be well up where they shouldn't be at this point in December. Just at the minute we've got the jet stream to the north of us and we've got high pressure just about in control to the south. Now we are seeing a few weak weather fronts head our way, and that's the problem that we're going to have tomorrow, in that tonight will be a largely dry night. There is some mist and murk around. There's a sort of damp feel to things, and the temperatures, well, in some places up into double figures. But tail end of the night, you can see this rain starts to edge in from the west. So for tomorrow morning, it's going to be fairly messy rush hour, some heavy bursts as well as that rain continues on its journey north and eastwards. But clearing away, and come the afternoon, a lot of dry weather. There'll be a few bright spells here and there, but a fair bit of cloud still knocking around. Temperatures, though, tomorrow 12, 13 degrees, which is, well, very good going for this point in December.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
And that is all from us for tonight. We are back in Good Morning Britain from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. But from me and from all of us here on the late team tonight, thanks for your company. See you tomorrow. Good night.